Hello and welcome. My name is Anne Goodall, your personal hypnotherapist, and today I'd like to talk about food. And I thought this is a really good time of the year to discuss this because coming up to Christmas, food tends to be a very big part of our celebrations. And that's cool. I mean, traditionally, regardless of which culture you come from, food plays an important role. However, the challenge with this sometimes is that very often, come Christmas, we make this almost conscious or unconscious decision that we're going to go out, and because it's Christmas, somehow or other, we're going to eat whatever. How many times have you ever said to yourself, oh, well, it's Christmas, I can get away with it. I'll worry about it in January, or I'll just go on a diet in January. And of course, if you're like most of us, definitely for me over the years, you will have done that. You will have had a splurge in December, and then come January, you will have felt maybe disgusted with yourself. Maybe you will have felt that you've put on weight. Maybe you'll have just felt horrible in your clothes, and then you will have rushed out and went on a diet. Now, again, look back at history, because we both know the challenge is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is not exactly what you want to do. So here you go. You have had a December where you've ate everything inside, and then January you've went on a diet. Maybe you've lasted for 2 weeks, maybe you've lasted for 8 weeks, maybe you've lasted for a few months. But what tends to happen, and you know it is, ultimately you will more than likely break that diet. And then, of course, with that comes a gush of eating. And that means that the weight that you've lost goes back on, plus usually another 1 or 2 kilos. And then here you go again. It's literally that diet treadmill. Can I just suggest this year that maybe you think about things differently? Maybe just stop, just give a little bit of introspection. And this is especially true considering the year that most of us have been through. I mean, for lots and lots of people, they've been in lockdown. And if you've been in lockdown, well, with lockdown, there is definitely a certain level of boredom. And sometimes with boredom comes, what do we turn to? We turn to food. So maybe there's people watching this already that have already put on the Christmas weight, and it's not even Christmas. So can I just ask you to stop for a moment and think about what you've been doing all these last number of years? Now, we both know that it's insanity. The concept of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And I'm just asking you maybe this year to think about things a little bit differently. To think, okay, well, look, for years what I do is I go out, I eat like crazy, and then I go on a diet in January, and then by March, April, that weight plus more, and consequently over the years your weight has gone up and up and up. And just stop for a moment and think, all right, what are the other solutions? Because there are other solutions. Now, I can talk about this because I used to be by far a chronic dieter. I was the person who would do this, who would have a massive big blowout a few times a year, and then I would put myself on a strict regime. The challenge was, as I did this over the years, more and more and more weight just went on. And the more weight I went on, the more I felt sad, the more I just felt like it was a battle that I couldn't win. Then I discovered intuitive eating. You see, when you think about this, there's so many things our body does automatically that we don't interfere with. I mean, as you've been listening to this audio or this video, you haven't been thinking about how much air is coming into your lungs, how much carbon dioxide you're exhaling. You haven't been thinking about, I wonder, is my body digesting my food properly? You haven't been thinking about your urinary system or whether or not you are taking in nutrients or how much waste is being excreted. And the reason you don't think about that is because you trust your body. You know that your body knows exactly what it needs to do. And yet when it comes to food or when it comes to hunger, we interfere. Instantly we interfere. Can you imagine if we were to do the same thing with our urinary system? Can you imagine that if you were to set yourself rules about every time that you need to go to the bathroom, that you would measure your urine, that you would tell yourself you can only urinate based on some program somebody gave you? I am pretty confident in the not too distant future from doing that, you'd have urinary problems. And the reason you wouldn't do it because it sounds crazy. I mean, who would do something like that unless some specialist asked you to do something for a particular reason? But generally, you wouldn't dream of doing it. And yet, why do we do it with food? So I would like to introduce you to the concept of intuitive eating. Intuitive eating has been around literally since the day dot, but it hasn't necessarily been called that. It's just called eat when you're hungry and stop eating when you're satisfied. See, the challenge is that we don't use food for just hunger. Sometimes we use food because we're bored. Sometimes we use food because there's something lacking in our lives. Sometimes there's pleasure lacking. And it sounds a horrible thing to say, and sometimes we wouldn't even admit it to ourselves or to our best friend. But sometimes we turn to food because there's something missing in our lives. And food gives us that quick hit, that good feeling. Of course, the challenge is that good feeling lasts for what? Moments? And then we go into this guilt. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I've eaten this. How bad is this? Weighing ourselves every few days, beating ourselves up, totally negative self-talk. I'm here to tell you that there is a different way, that does not have to be your continued food story. Maybe that was your food story from the past, but that does not have to be your food story of the future. So what can you take away from this video? Well, hopefully you've taken away that just a reminder of how crazy it is to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. And to know that just because it's December doesn't mean that you can't enjoy food, but there comes a time when there's enjoying food, and then there's actually getting to the stage of just feeling overfull and almost disgusted when we eat too much. So we can still have pleasure, we can still go out, we can still enjoy ourselves and enjoy food without actually going over the top. And thirdly, and most importantly, the question I have for you is are you using food as a substitute for something else that's missing in your life? Is food giving you something that is not really food's job to give you? And if that is the case, then I suggest that you learn more about intuitive eating. Perhaps if you're interested, come on a journey with me, because I can help you. I can help you retrain your mind around food. I can help you reduce your cravings. I can help you change how you think about yourself. You see, one of the things that we sometimes do is we tell ourselves that we will love ourselves when we're a certain weight. How many times have you said, yeah, I'll be happy when I'm a size whatever. I'll be happy when X number on the scales. I'm going to tell you that every day that you do that is a day wasted. This is time to stop wasting time. If COVID has taught us nothing else, I hope it has taught you and me that life is precious. So if you want to know more, comment below, contact me on this Facebook page, and I look forward to bringing you on the intuitive eating journey. Hypnosis for intuitive eating. Remember, you can transform your life by transforming your thinking. Until I see you the next time, signing off, Anne Goodall, your personal hypnotherapist. Thank you for listening.